Is there two now?
There was two.
I think you're live now. Right now.
Okay. Am I there? I don't know if I'm there. We're working on this. Forgive me. We're just having some technical difficulties. Hopefully it's all making sense now. Okay. This is interesting.
There's no audio. Carmen's saying your mouth is moving.
My mouth is moving, but no audio?
That's what Carmen just said.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking that I'm on. So if you can follow this, you're doing fantastic. This has been let's start from I'm watching this.
Yeah, you're frozen again.
All right. I think you're watching me right now.
To Carmen. That's
Okay, it's telling me that I'm live, so I'm going for it. Okay. So let's get after this. Welcome to Lobby Talk. We're gonna just start right over. Can we do this? Welcome. It's Jeff here. We're doing this informal midweek check-in to see how you're all doing. If you're listening, why don't you just drop us a note and tell us where you're listening from and what's going on. Say hi to some of the other people that are in. We're wanting to just talk about last weekend's gym session, Friends Church. We also want to talk about some of the stuff that's currently happening within our community. We want to keep you, our family, engaged and connected. So please feel free to weigh in as we're chatting tonight. We'll hopefully get to your comments at different points of the segment. So tonight I'm going to interview Vince Clausen, my partner in crime, co-leader of Friends Church. He spoke this past weekend, and so I wanted to get his kind of closing thoughts and any stuff that he never chatted about or wanted to chat about but never had a chance, or feedback that he got. I want to give him an opportunity to be able to do that. I'm also wanting to interview Gregory Dennis tonight. He is one of our house band leaders. Great guy. And I wanted to talk to him about music, stuff that's connecting with him spiritually, and how music relates to a spiritual journey, what kind of music, and how it's changed over the years for him as he's been on this journey. So I'm hoping that you'll maybe identify or resonate with some stuff that he's experiencing and why he does what he does, and give you a chance to kind of learn a little bit more about him as well. So do that. I got some texts coming in here. Yeah, there's been some interesting developments. Vince, if you're listening, yes, you and Gregory coming on. I see you guys. So just hold on, bear with me for a couple minutes as we get ready. Before I bring them in, I just want to mention a couple things. Yes, we had trouble with Facebook Live this past weekend. Facebook's made some changes. So in the meantime, can I just encourage you to familiarize yourself with YouTube Live? If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, the Friends Church Calgary AB channel, get signed up. And that way when we are going to go live, it will automatically send you a notification. And so you can be ready for that. One other thing I wanted to mention is Google reviews. If you've been impacted by the work of Friends Church, I want to selfishly ask if you might be willing to do a Google review. We were just actually chatting with some guys from our community this past weekend, and they said, Friends Church has no Google reviews. And we're like, what we did at one point, don't know what happened to them, where they went, but they are missing. And so we thought it would be great if there were people out there who've been impacted by Friends Church. We just, to be able to share your story, put it online. We're just finding that there's a lot of people out there looking for spirituality, but they are heavily jaded by religion. They just have no use for church. They've given up on the concept of the spiritual journey. And yet they're desperate for something more, something deeper. And so they're looking, but they're not really sure who to trust or where to go. And we just think that if there are some people that were willing to put their story out there in the form of a Google review about Friends Church and the way that perhaps our approach has helped you, what life was like before you started coming, how things, maybe your perspective of church, religion, whatever has changed. Yeah, I'm hoping that what we're doing, if it's changing lives, which we hear the stories that they are, we're thinking if those stories could get out, there might be some other people that you would help kind of take the leap to get involved. So if that's you out there and you'd be willing to tell your story, trust us, you could make an impact by just telling other people about it. And it's easy. Google review takes only a couple minutes, but it would help us get the word out there, right? So anyways, that's all I needed to say. I want to bring Vince in and chat with him. Hopefully we're going to get linked up. I think he's coming in. Yes, he is joining me. Vince, just your audio or your video needs to be turned on, and then we're laughing. There you are. Welcome.
How's it going?
Good. Sorry for the technical nightmare that we just experienced. Yeah, well, here's hoping. YouTube Live is a little different than Facebook Live. Just when I think I'm kind of getting my, bearings on what to do, then we throw a loop in it. So it's all good.
Good. Glad you got it.
Welcome to Lobby Talk.
Thank you.
Hey, so want to just go back and chat about this past weekend service?
Sure.
You had two big ideas that you chased down. I thought it was a phenomenal message.
Well, thank you.
Gratitude was the first one that you kind of explored. If someone was to ask you why gratitude would be helpful, what do you tell them?
Gratitude is important. It does a whole bunch of different things in terms of creating change in us. The effects are actually not as big as I was hoping they would be. Doing the research, I realized there's certain people groups that it doesn't do anything for. There's some people who are impacted quite a bit. But
for the people that it does impact, what does it do?
Oh man, they see anywhere from change in materialism, some spike in their happiness, calmness, a bunch of different things.
But like you were just saying, it doesn't necessarily always work for everyone that jumps into it. So you had some reservations about even heading into the weekend. Maybe could you just share just a little bit of that journey as to what you found out? And
I was all excited, and then I started reading a bunch of research on it, and I realized the one study said divorced women in their 40s who try gratitude, even sharing gratitude with other people, find zero change in their happiness.
According to some study or to the study.
Actually, study, I'm not sure why they studied exactly that, but hey, whatever. And actually teenagers. So of course I sent that to Carmen to say, it's interesting to see there's not a whole lot of shift there. But more interesting is, even if we're grateful and it doesn't change us, it oozes out of us. So this whole new field of emotional contagion that I thought was really interesting, even though gratitude has a lot of positive effects, even if it doesn't change your happiness, often it will make other people feel differently. And I thought, especially in Friends Church, where we're literally trying to make the world a little bit better around us, anything that can ooze us and make the world a bit better, I thought, damn, that's worth talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious, has this been the case for you?
Well, see, there's another interesting piece of this is I'm an optimist. So everything is gratitude in my world, right?
So you think
we're all like is good. So I think gratitude is more natural to some based on personality than others.
Okay.
So I tend to be a pretty positive person. I see things pretty positively. I look at the world and think, wow, that looks great. I learned a lot from that. Even though I just broke my arm, I learned a lot. That's cool.
Yeah. So if your personality is not one that's inclined to toward optimism, just the challenge of being grateful is a bigger ask than, say, for someone like you, where it just kind of naturally comes out. I can relate a little bit more to that as well. But yeah, for the people out there that you're going, hey, look at, yeah, for people like me, I'm going to have, I can do this in my sleep. For people like you, you're going to have to work harder. But the why behind it is where you kind of took a left this past Sunday, where you said, hey, look, I'm not just saying this so that you can make your life better, which even in your, earlier spiel here, you said for some people, it doesn't even do that necessarily. But your rationale for why gratitude should be embraced and practiced on a regular basis was not a selfish kind of why. It was actually more about, the world around you.
Yeah. And I really like that term oozing. Like, what is oozing out of you? It's all negative and it's all like the world's going to hell and nothing's good and people are bad. That's contagious around you. And so suddenly you're bringing everybody else to that really fearful state. And I don't know, I think we definitely have an ability in our world to lift everyone else up by oozing positivity, or we ooze negativity and pull them all down. Right. So yeah, from a Friend Church vision standpoint of making the world a little bit better, it doesn't get much better than emotional contagion.
So have you been trying this?
Oh yeah, I was just saying to Ellie, I do it negatively all the time. I just said you're oozing, and she's like, no, you ooze. You. Like, yeah, that's
so. Though you're an optimist, you still can manage to have a negative impact.
Well, again, you look at it from the emotional contagion point of view. If I'm angry, right, I can still be positive and be angry, but or frustrated where I'm trying to get to something. Those are not anti-gratitude. Those are just I'm being, or I'm not getting to where I want to go.
Negative emotions you're living in.
Yeah. So yeah, I can ooze all kinds of crap.
I loved it. I hadn't really. I love the term emotional contagion. Because I think we've all felt that. Hey,
you don't like oozing as much?
I like oozing, but I related more to. I resonate with the emotional contagion.
You're much higher brow than I am. I like to ooze.
Whatever.
Like my life. So what do you find? What is emotionally contagious about you? What emotion do you put out there the most, do you think?
Well, I tend to be a fairly positive person. I don't, I kind of ride medium to high most days pretty effortlessly for whatever reason. Under stress, different story. So hey, look I can bring down the party as well as bring it up quite easily. My Kathy would attest to my my negative impact, in certain environments just as much as my positive. But I know what it's like to be in a room when someone comes in operating, buzzing at a higher frequency, and whether they just want to talk about something great, or they don't want to fuel the negative in a room. They just have and I don't even know if some people even realize what they're doing, if it's as intentional or if they just naturally just gravitate toward controlling a real positive contagion, that energy. And
the health minister reports, I just watched her for the first time, like just 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Her voice oozes calm, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You should be doing those updates because it's just like, wow, I feel so calm after you just told me about deaths and all this horrible news, and I feel relaxed. Like, that's pretty impressive.
What I find very interesting is almost everyone that's giving these daily reports from the provincial perspectives are all women. And I have a feeling I don't know how strategic everything is, but I'm telling you, every woman that I'm watching does exactly that. With these COVID-19 reports, they are speaking with such emotional intelligence. Or the stuff that they're relaying it's heavy, and somehow they're doing it in a way. The women out in BC, there's people that are like cheering. They're going, "Whoa, we're doing this!" You know, she's like,
I haven't watched her yet, but I heard her shoes, her Fluvog shoes.
"Oh, I didn't know about that."
She loves her shoes. I don't know why it's a thing, but it's a thing.
Emotional contagion. So the challenge really was not just to demonstrate gratitude for your own sake so you can make yourself feel better, even if that doesnn't work, even if you fall into one of those categories, a teen or say a 40-year-old divorced woman who technically it might not even work for you. That's okay. You can still do it, not for the sake of your own happiness, but for the sake of others and lifting people up. I just thought that was masterful.
Yeah, and you can even watch family dynamics. Kids who are dysregulated because they're kids, they can't regulate yet. They start freaking out. If their parent cannot get that contagion and stay calm, they can actually re-regulate their children. The parent gets triggered and starts freaking out, the kid will just fire even more, and they get this kind of like crazy spiral of it's getting worse and worse.
Yeah, I love it.
So even in parenting, it's like, okay, wait, I'm catching what you got.
Yeah.
And I'm 40. I probably shouldn't catch that.
Yeah.
Okay, let me take a deep breath, reset. Okay, buddy. Yeah, get it.
I just want to say something about you, kid, that is just amazing. You know, you can jump into gratitude toward your kid, you know, and totally disarm them, take them right off guard. Look at quickly on the second part of the message, you talked about the power of the and.
Yep.
You want to give us a 30-second kind of synopsis of the big idea behind that?
Sure. What tragically I see more and more in myself, and then as I start looking to other people, is disagreements are framed in either or. Either I win or you win. And I played with this idea from Jonah that if I don't win, you might as well kill me. So it's just this fight to the death. And we see it in politics. We see it in how people handle the COVID response. It's just like, my way's right, your way's wrong, horrible. But what if we frame it and say, what's the and? Like, I want this and I want you to have this. How do we start looking at disagreements when we can do it that way? And suddenly we're collaborative as opposed to antagonistic.
Like it. I like it. Feedback on it.
That's actually the one I've gotten the most feedback on. And it's just, I'm always fascinated by where people take it. I've heard parents talk about their interaction with their kids. I've heard people talking about it in terms of kind of the other, those people over there, the people who vote different, who do different, who are different. I've heard people talking about it in terms of coupledom, saying like, how do I make this win-win? It's, yeah, to me, those are the most exciting parts of this puzzle. Not that I know anything, because what the heck do I know? But when people take these questions that we present and then they put them into their lives in incredibly fascinating ways and show you that, wow, yeah, that's a beautiful way to express their unique spirituality in their lives.
So you're in a big discussion and someone, yeah, you know, and it gets heated. Someone starts sharing an unpopular opinion. Yeah. And these days, it's not hard to find divisive conversations, polarizing opinions, whatever. What is the hack? What is the way to operate with this principle in the middle of that? Someone starts saying something that starts turning your back up on end. Is there something that you do that kind of incorporates exactly what you're talking about in the power of the and? What?
I think so. Let me, I didn't really explore this in the message because I didn't have enough time, but oftentimes when you have that heated moment and it feels like that needs to die, people will say to me sometimes like, you can't say that, or I'll say to somebody, you can't think that. When you get into that kind of scenario, yeah, you're in red flag territory. It's like, no, you frame this either or. So when you feel that energy rising up of like, I have to kill them or I'm going to die. When you feel that, it's like full on pause, step back, take a deep breath, take some water, tie your shoe, get a break, get your ambassadors going and going, okay, what could I do that's collaborative here? What's the and?
So step back outside of the conversation.
Yeah, step back.
Kind of, yeah. Back in your body.
Your primitives are freaking out. They
Yeah.
have to die. This can't happen. They can't say that. They can't think that. And then we come up with all reasons to justify why our primitives are freaking out. But the short answer is switching from they have to die to, okay, what can we agree on?
Okay.
Right? We all agree that probably public health is really important.
Yeah.
How much we agree on? I don't know. We probably all agree that a healthy economy is probably pretty important.
Mm-hmm.
Where we all are on that. So find the areas that we can agree. But look at it even more interesting. Look at it in terms of relationships, your coupledoms, your kids. Ask yourself, how do you manage that?
Yeah.
Hardwick wants this, Mike. I heard a beautiful one. I didn't ask her if I can share this, so I won't share her name, but she said she's a teacher who's homeschooling, and she says, if I force my kid to do a subject, he'll push back. If I say, you need to do the subject, when would you like to do this? And he can put his thoughts into it and they can create an and situation. She's like, it runs smoothly. And I was like, that's brilliant.
It's golden.
Yeah, super. Like, obviously, professional teacher knows her stuff.
Yeah.
Wow, like, perfect example of the and.
Right. When you can get into that, all of a sudden these polarizing opinions and whatever can become almost a strength if two people come together talking about being willing, fierce enough to be able to have the conversation, but in a very productive way.
Yeah.
Great stuff this weekend, man. It's really awesome.
Have fun. Good luck.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for joining me.
Okay, take care.
Yeah, you bet. See ya. All right. Well, this was that was Vince Clausen, co-lead pastor at Friends Church. We've been working together for I don't know, I think almost 20 years. And man, that guy sees things that always blows my mind. Look, if you jumped onto the wrong YouTube live tonight, I'm sorry. We're just getting everything all figured out here. But look, I want to bring in Gregory, chat with him. Yeah, here he is. There's the man, Gregory.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great, man. I'm really good. Sorry to keep you waiting.
That's okay. I'm going to turn my camera on.
That's a nice picture of you, though. That's very, oh, wow. That's just as great right there.
Hey, thanks. Thank you.
Welcome to Lobby Talk tonight.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me.
So Gregory is one of the house band leaders at Friends Church. How long have you been involved with the music at Friends, Gregory?
I don't honestly know. I'm going to say 5 years, but Kara's probably upstairs watching saying, no, it's probably 6. It's kind of a blur.
A while. We love the music you're creating. That's what I want to talk about was music and how it works for you in terms of the spiritual journey. Why you've been doing it. You've been like leading music, playing music, what we used to call leading worship in the former days. You've been doing this a long time. Like, how long are we talking?
Since 2000. Well, okay, so in church, like worship leading was right around 1998, 1999.
Okay,
But I've
so
always
like-
been in music in church. My mom she was in the choir, and so I don't know, there was this weird thing where I asked her one day if I could join the choir, and we're talking like a very ultra conservative church where the average choir member was, probably 50 years old. And so it's like,
and you wanted to be in there.
yeah, so I think I was the youngest person to ever join that choir. And then so that's kind of where it all started. Yeah.
Was it just music that interested you? Was there a spiritual aspect to it at that point when early on?
I mean, it's kind of hard to distinguish that. I mean, I was raised in church, so there was no real separation. When you're young, you're just kind of like, this is life. When you get older, you start to analyze that and say, well, is this what I believe? Is this not what I believe? So there was a whole journey of that, which obviously we ended up at Friends Church through that journey. But just ultra conservative into like more prophetic, charismatic church in my early 20s, and then music director there and leading worship and running the bands and stuff. And then that deconstruction process over the last probably 10 years now, and Friends Church has been a part of that. So.
I'm always fascinated by people who have come out of maybe more traditional kind of conservative environments especially as it pertains to music, in terms of what that was about for you, and then how it kind of maybe shifted through the deconstruction into this next layer. Would you be able to kind of look back and go, I think at one point music, whatever, was about this, and now it is more about this? Is it that clear for you? Would you be able to kind of put that to words as to how it's morphed or changed for you?
I think so. Man, I could talk about this for a long time.
I know.
How do I summarize it? I was in a very conservative church where we sang out of a hymnal, right?
Yeah.
We're talking songs that were written hundreds of years ago. The pastor, when I was in my preteens and into my teen years, that came into that church, was a very progressive pastor for a conservative church. He was progressive, okay? And he wanted to start introducing a praise band, which was very different than, we have the organist who's playing the organ and we're singing out of these hymnals. Started introducing some newer songs. And I think that's where maybe more of that contemporary, like, hey, music inside of a church can be different than what it has been for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Right.
And so I was part of that journey of helping the church really be more progressive. All of a sudden there was a drummer in the church, and it was like, what is this? Is devil's music, And so you had this polarization inside that small community, which I kind of weathered through. And I think as a young person, being in the middle of that and seeing how music really opened up people to something more, it definitely opened up. I resonated with more of that contemporary music than I ever did with the old hymns. But then the polarization that happened with the groups that were like, no, this is what I cherish, these old songs and these new songs and these drummers and these new instruments. This isn't what's right. And that polarization.
There was kind of like a style wars going on at that point.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people would have seen it not just stylistically. It would have been like, this is challenging my beliefs. This is challenging my doctrine of what I think is right and what I think is allowed in church and what isn't. Yeah. So, when I moved away and got involved up here in Calgary in a charismatic church, then that was even more progressive than anything that I was ever involved in before. And that's kind of where I really think that I was given a lot of freedom and creativity, and really experienced how music can really connect you to something more spiritual, that you can have spiritual experiences in the middle of music, that it really has this way of bypassing people's cognitive side and hitting deeper, if you allow it to, right? And I think that even at Friends Church, even though we don't do typical praise and worship music, the songs that I find have impacted me just as much as some of those other songs that I would have done when I was in more of a traditional style church that was more about praising God and worshiping God, right?
Right. Yeah, I
don't know if that answers your question.
No, I can. Yeah, no, I identify with that. I think at one point in my journey, it was all about kind of me telling God how great he was, and, kind of singing theological beliefs. This is what I believe about God, who he is, what he does, whatever. It's kind of an affirmation of all the theology that we held as a community. And then it seems as things started to shift, the themes that were resonating for me personally, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, but were not so much about a large part of the beliefs that I once held, because some of those beliefs I wasn't even sure about anymore. I wasn't, and so to just have to sing them became almost inauthentic. So then I started on this journey of looking for music that was really honest, like just even about this stuff. It's like, I don't know what I believe about that particular thing. And someone comes along and says, some days I just want to believe, but I struggle. And I would hear a lyric like that and I go, oh, that just did something inside of me. And
Yeah.
you know what? And I know you know exactly what I'm talking about, because the
Oh,
number
yeah.
of times you would come and introduce a song at Friends Church, and it wasn't about any big theological belief. It was almost like a deep internal diary
Mm.
line.
Yeah. Yeah, like embrace the doubt, I think, is probably the one thing that if I could really summarize my 10 years of deconstruction and reconstruction of what I believe about God and spirituality and church and music and how it all works and what makes sense and what doesn't, I would summarize it as like embrace the doubt and then be okay with it. I think the one thing that's kind of kept me from just being completely cerebral about whether the Bible is true or not, or whether it was literal or not, or whether God is a being in the sky or the ground of being and all these other concepts of God, strip all of that away, and music still gives me this ability to tap into something that I can't explain.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a feeling, a sense of like connection to something bigger.
Yeah.
And then bypassing all my brain that says, well, that can't happen and that's not true and the science shows this and this and this and this, because our brain is filled with that stuff. And I think it gets in the way from just allowing yourself to experience something. And then at the end of it go, that felt good.
Yeah.
There's no harm in that. That
Right.
felt good. That energized me. That made me feel vulnerable. It made me feel emotional. It made me feel alive on the inside. And my brain is like, doesn't make any sense to me at all. But then yet it still happened. And then be able to walk away from that and say, I'm not going to try to explain it.
Yeah.
There's a couple of songs that we do at Friends Church that I have not let go of. One of them is Crags and Clay, which is a Gungor song.
Love it.
That one is a big song, even in charismatic churches and more traditional churches. And I will keep singing that song, because anything that connects me to something bigger than me in a song, I mean, there's still lyrics in there, all praises to the one. Like that's a line in the song. But yet I feel connected when I sing those words. And I'm not going to lie, like in my doing music in a charismatic church, I miss it. There are things about that I miss. And there's things that I learned in that experience, even though there's a whole lot of other stuff that probably gave me PTSDs. I'm not going to lie.
What do you miss? What is it about maybe a more, so for those that wouldn't know what a charismatic environment would mean, it's a very expressive, emotional, a vibrant musical experience. Think Southern gospel, Black gospel down the States. I mean, just rocking and energy and clapping and singing and hands raised. And what is it? Is it like, what is it about that experience that you miss?
I think it was just giving people a place where they could just be free.
Yeah.
And, we'd have people dancing and we'd have people raising their hands. And to me, you could look at that on the outside and see like the weird ooey gooey spiritual side of it that turns people off when you see it on like the televangelists and the TV shows and stuff like that. And that is one side of it. But then there's this other side where people that were unable to really kind of connect with their body, I feel like their body and their soul, that music gave room for that. It was like, here's an invitation to express yourself in a very non-Canadian way.
Yeah.
So,
I know what you're saying. I know that for people that maybe were raised in that environment, the weirdness of it all isn't there. You just kind of watch it and you appreciate, maybe you can see past it, some of the crazy, to really feel those very things, people connecting with their body and that freedom and the emotion of it all, or whatever, just being able to let loose. I grew up in that environment too. I know what you speak of. With it came a lot of PTSD as well. Yes, there's other stuff to it all too. Now, you spoke of Crags and Clay songs. What is the kind of music that moves you now? Who's on your playlist? What are you looking for in terms of I don't know, stylistically is tricky, but lyrically, are there things that you're more drawn to, certain artists that are writing certain things? Is it a lyrical thing for you?
Yeah, it is a lyrical thing for sure. That's usually what I connect with the most. Like any sort of instrumental piece and stuff, there's a place for that too in my life. But I think I always resonate with words and a line, like you were saying. If a song is being genuine about what they're going through, then that has the ability to impact anybody listening to it. Like the song "I Won't Let You Go," which is a Switchfoot song. I know Alessandra and Kyla and the band did that on Sunday, and that song could be interpreted so many different ways. And Alessandra's talking about it even on Sunday. She took that song and she listened to it, and she came up with a completely different way of viewing that song. And my daughter Leanna and I, when we listened to that song, we connected on that song when we first did it at Friends Church, about our struggles with our mental health and how we needed to be there. We were there for each other, that I'm not going to let you go, and if you listen to the words in one context or you set it up in a different context, all of a sudden those words completely take different meaning and they impact you differently. It's powerful.
I was going to say one thing that I've appreciated so much about the music that you guys have been choosing or writing is the poetic nature of it, the interesting lyrical freedom to. It's not so straight up. I mean, I came from a church background where there's no mistaking what you were singing. It was so straight up, direct. There wasn't a lot of room for artistic and poetic interpretation. It was just straight up, here's what you're singing right now. And I don't know how else to describe that, but now the lyrics leave room for interpretation. They leave room for people to be able to find themselves in their own story in the music. And I so much appreciate that. I think it's funny how, being someone that I'll end up chatting with so many different people coming in, experiencing Friends Church sometimes for the first time, and they'll talk about their musical experience. And some will say, man, I just bawled through it. And some people tell me about a particular song that just hit them like a ton of bricks. And I know just based on the little things that they'll tell me, it's exactly that. They're hearing something in that song. They're reading a lyric that means something to them that the person sitting beside them is not getting. They're getting something completely different. So I very much appreciate, I think Michael Gungor once said, we need more interesting music. We need, I think that was the word he used, but and then he went on to elaborate, just saying we need music that gives room for people to find their stories in. And so I appreciate your guys' unwillingness to just settle for stuff that doesn't allow for that. It's wonderful.
It's been challenging to, even in the time that I'd been at Friends Church, the music repertoire has changed so drastically from when I first started attending Friends Church. And we've all been kind of on that journey together, with the church leadership and the community, and then the musicians as well, to say like, these songs that we used to sing, they are too boxed and they don't really resonate with the majority of our community. So we need to put those aside and let's start bringing in newer songs. And that's been challenging because you have to listen to music in a different way. And so there's often times where I'm still doing this now. A lot of the songs that I've introduced in the last 6 months to a year, they're songs that I've known for 5 to 10 years. And I wouldn't have ever considered doing those in a community setting for a church. But then you go back and you listen to these songs and you're like, oh, okay, now with a new mindset, this song actually might really work. And then we bring it in and we try it. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. It's not like every song we do is one that we just keep bringing back. But it's this thing where it's like, I can't just go to, the traditional praise and worship music anymore because it's not cutting it for our community. So it's going to be secular music, or it's going to be people who have gone on that deconstruction journey as well, who maybe still have a lot of that kind of background of doing music in church, but they've expanded the, like Gunger or The Brilliance is another one. You asked for like who's in my playlist when I'm looking for songs like that. The song Us. Oh, I wanted to jump in one more thing.
Yeah.
You know, there's songs that open us up to just being able to resonate with our own personal lives, struggles that we're going through, or thoughts that we're having, or things that we can identify with. But there's also, I feel the way I categorize it would be songs that would be anthems for communities. And these are songs that I look at. The Brilliance is great at these songs. See the Love is another one that they did on Sunday, which keeps coming back in our congregation, because when I first heard that song, everything in that song was like, this is what Friends Church represents.
Wow.
And if you think about music in like the old churches, like the hymns and things like that, those were powerful ways for everybody in that congregation to get on board with an idea, to get on board with this is who we are, this is what we represent. And there's still power in that, you know, as a community, for all of us to sing a song like See the Love, you know, it resonates with the underlying message of what we represent as a group. And songs that can fit with that are really important too. So they're not all introspective. There are it's very intentional for me to look at the songs that we pick and say, this one's going to be more of like that introspective, hit me personally. I'm going to walk away with either listening to the song and it's going to impact me different than the person next to me. But then there's also these other songs that are like, no, we as a community, this is what we stand for. This is what we represent. And this is our message.
Yeah.
And I think those songs are equally as important as to a community. Right.
Right. Absolutely. I think we are still, trying and experimenting with all forms of different kinds of music and lyric and whatever, to be able to just, you know, we often say all we are trying to do is get people to connect to something deeper and wider than themselves. And whether that, for some, it's just the music of it all. Hey, we've been to secular you've sat in a U2 concert, you felt something that is undeniably deeper and wider and beyond yourself. Hard to say, not spiritual, and all kinds of different music and whatever. And so I think the box of Christian music is kind of getting maybe picked apart. We're just saying, look, at all music can be spiritual.
Very true.
And so being able to explore lyrics of even songs that they know, you know, whether it's a Roy Orbison tune they sang a little while back, you name it, whatever we can find, the themes that are woven into our everyday life that seem to question or to encourage or to get us wondering or get us curious, you name it. I'm grateful that you have been so open to exploring so many different levels, Gregory. And
Thanks.
I know online, I see my wife saying, Gregory, I love your voice. Thank you for sharing your gift. Yes, we're grateful. I know that there's people that will talk to me often about you guys and, you know, share their gratitude for the work that you guys are doing. Can you, just before we close up, what does a typical, what goes into pulling off a Sunday kind of set? Can you, just for the average person doesn't see what you guys do, you don't just show up and say, hey, what do you guys think? Should we do this song? Yeah, let's do that. Boom, boom, boom. There's a lot that goes into it. Can you just kind of give us a rundown?
Sure. I'm just wondering, is this pre-pandemic or post-pandemic?
Well, and that's a good question. Hey, well, you know what? For the sake of where we're at right now, why don't we talk in the middle of this pandemic? What does it look like for you guys to be able to pull off a Sunday?
Sure. I think with how we're doing church right now, there is definitely an added complexity for sure. The benefit is that we actually can do our rehearsals, which we always do before a Sunday. We do a 2-hour rehearsal with the band, and we're able to do that in the same exact environment as we do the live stream, which is a nice benefit. We've
Down at the
never,
temple.
yeah, down on the stage with Vince there, or any one of the other AV person there to kind of get the level set. And so that's been amazing. I'm not gonna lie. That's a huge something that Friends Church hasn't been able to do. We've never had that ability, right?
Yeah.
So typically, if pre-pandemic, we would be jamming out in a living room, which I absolutely love. Like, there's some really cool moments that we as a band get to experience when we're all just sitting around a coffee table with our instruments, and it's loud, and we got amps going, and you can barely hear the vocals because all the instruments are there, but there's this tight knit, like, beautiful connection that happens between us as musicians and friends, that I would never trade. So I'm looking forward to getting back to some of those living room jams, because those are different than standing on a stage, talking to the sound person. Hey, can you up my mix here? Can you change this? Can you change that? And it's more technical.
Right.
But we need the technical right now.
Yeah.
I think everybody that's been in making these services happen, holy mackerel, like, we've put in a lot more time and hours to pull these streaming services off than I think we would if it was just a group of people coming into that building. It's new for everybody, and we've been on this like every week, so like Vince and I, we've been chatting a lot after the music segments and saying, okay, how can we make this better? The sound wasn't great here, we need to change this. And we've been changing and evolving it every single week. I even took a mix from the last time I was up, and I was like, I don't like it. I listened to it afterwards, and I'm like, I know it could sound better. And so I took it in, and I did a whole bunch of mixing at home here on my equipment. And I said, here's where I think maybe it could sound like. And then Vince and I listened to that together over a Zoom call. And then he took all of that, and he's like, okay, I'm going to spend hours the next day on the board, reworking how the board is set up to try to get it to sound like you're in a room with the band, right?
The challenge of being able to record live music and make it sound even somewhat presentable for a video through a live feed, or later when they go to replay it on YouTube, or when they're listening to it live, is just so incredible. I don't think most would have any appreciation for how difficult that is.
It's tough.
We appreciate all the work that you're doing right now to help us on that front, and for the music that you continue to create again and again with your team. It's just on behalf of everyone, we want to thank you, Gregory. Thanks for joining me tonight. This was really awesome to have you weighing in and sharing a little bit of your journey and how it all connects. Hopefully next time when you're up, people who have heard this will maybe be able to maybe hear through all the different things you're saying and understand just a little bit more about how music is capable of connecting them to something deeper and wider too. So,
well, that's this Sunday, so I'm up on Sunday.
Woo, bring it.
Yeah, so we've got our songs picked, and Dave and Kyla and Rod will be there, and Leanna will be there, so
Leanna's
it'll be our full band again. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
Looking forward to
honestly,
it,
I gotta say, I gotta say, with the pandemic, it's like going on a date to get out of the house and go down to the church and do a band practice right now, because it's like, oh my gosh, I get to be in a room with people that I don't get to see all the time.
Well, and we're grateful right now to have that temple all to ourselves. It's all shut down, so we're able to kind of keep it really sterilized and whatever, and still maintaining our physical distancing as a band and whatever. But yeah, we're glad that you guys are willing to step out of the safety of your homes to come and do that too. It's really great. It's a real benefit to the entire community. So
yeah.
Again,
all right.
Thanks for it all, pal. We'll look forward to hearing the music this Sunday.
Yeah, it'll be good.
All right, pal. See you soon.
Okay, we'll talk to you later.
You got it. All right. Well, that was it for Lobby Talk this weekend. This week. Thanks for joining us. Thanks. If you're on, see a few comments here. Hey, hello to all of you that were tuning in. glad you were able to be a part of us, Carmen and Kath. Hap, you joined us. Awesome. Welcome. Kara, good to see you. We'll look forward to the next one. Again, my apologies for the technical difficulties. A little bit of a challenge tonight, but next time will be smoother and smoother. Anyways, have a great week, everyone. We'll talk to you on Sunday.